essa capacidade que tem o futebol de levar o homem ao delírio sem aliená-lo na arquibancada, é que, a meu ver, explica a perenidade e a universalidade desse esporte nesse império onde o sol nunca se põe.
In this empire called football, the sun often shines brightest in Brazil, a country which has produced the most stylish and elegant practitioners of the beautiful game. Brazil is obsessed with football. The rest of the world is obsessed with Brazilian football.
E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu, bambu. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu lelê. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu lalá. Eu quero ver dizer 3 vezes bambu lê, bambu lalá, bambu. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu, bambu. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu lelê. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu lalá. Eu quero ver dizer 3 vezes bambu lê, bambu lalá. Fui um banquete na casa do Zé Pequena, a mesa estava no sereno pra todo mundo caber. Tinha de toda a qualidade de talé, tinha mais homem que mulher, mas só não tinha de comer bambu. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu, bambu. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu lelê. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu lalá. Eu quero ver dizer 3 vezes bambu lê, bambu lalá, bambu. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu, bambu. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu lelê. E olha o bambu do bambu, bambu lalá. Eu quero ver dizer 3 vezes bambu lê, bambu lalá. Conheço um homem que tem 17 filhos, todos eles têm filho.
Modern Brazil has little of the overt racism that afflicts other societies. Indeed, this is a rainbow nation unlike any other. There are plenty of poor whites, but the saying goes, if you are black and rich, your name is likely to be Pelé. The first slaves from Africa set foot on Brazilian shores in the 17th century. They were transported to work on the sugar-cane plantations, and now blacks and people of mixed race make up nearly half of the population. The original white settlers were joined by a huge wave of immigrants from Europe at the end of the 19th and the start of the 20th century, as people crossed the Atlantic to make their fortune in the New World. In October 1894, on returning to Brazil from school in England, an Anglo-Brazilian called Charles Miller brought with him 2 footballs. That day is still regarded as the official birthday of football in Brazil. And Charles Miller is still revered as the father of football in Brazil.
Quando ele chegou aqui no Brasil, ninguém jogava futebol. Então o trabalho que ele teve foi exatamente o de ensinar. O de ensinar as regras do jogo, inclusive as dimensões do campo, enfim, de mostrar como se praticava o futebol.
At first, Miller had difficulty in persuading the Sao Paulo Athletic Club, where he was a member, to play the new game. But when the Sao Paulo Championship kicked off in 1902, Miller was the top scorer as his club became the first ever champions in Brazil. It wasn't until 4 years later that a league was started in Rio de Janeiro. In the shadow of the Christ statue lie some of Rio's most exclusive homes around the famous inland lagoon, the Lagoa. It is on the banks of the Lagoa that most of Rio's famous clubs have their origin. To this day, Flamengo, Vasco and Botafogo all include rowing club in their names. A feature in the early years of football in Rio and Sao Paulo were the tours by European teams, the most famous of which was in 1910 by the great Corinthians side from England. It was such a success that a team was founded in Sao Paulo named in honor of the Corinthians. This unique footage from their 1913 tour game against a Rio 11 led by the Englishman Harry Welfare is the first footage that exists of Brazilian football. In the early years of the 20th century, though, football remained very much a pastime for the rich whites.
As primeiras fotografias dos jogos de futebol mostram os torcedores, que nós chamamos, que são os assistentes, os que vão às arquibancadas, as mulheres vestidas como se fossem a uma festa, chapéu. Os homens também, de gravata. Se usava muito um chapéu de palha aqui no Brasil, que chamavam palheta. E então se vê que os adeptos do futebol iam muito bem vestidos ao campo. Não havia a frequência do povo, só mesmo da elite.
But times were changing. Arthur Friedenreich, seen here in the center of the front row, had a German father and an Afro-Brazilian mother. As a mixed-race player, he scored 1,329 goals, more than anyone else in the history of football. In 1925, his club, Paulistano, were the first Brazilian team to tour Europe, seen here in a match against the French 11 from that tour. In those days, the races were divided, but Friedenreich's status as the major star of Brazilian football helped convince Vasco da Gama in Rio to drop their barriers against black players, and in 1923 they won the Rio State Championship, thanks to their black contingent. It was revolutionary, and it caused an uproar.
Foi o primeiro clube a colocar negros, a aceitar negros jogando. Isso aí deu um escândalo. Os outros não queriam jogar com ele. Você vê que problema se viveu, um problema racista, lamentavelmente. E ninguém sabia que justamente o tempero dado pelo negro ao nosso futebol é que fez o nosso futebol ser o que é.
As blacks came from poor backgrounds, disputes began over alleged professionalism. The two issues dominated football until 1937, as breakaway leagues were formed in both Rio and Sao Paulo. Amid this chaos, Brazil's obsession with the World Cup began in 1930. The team they sent to Uruguay was a largely whites-only Rio-based team that didn't get past the first round. By the time of the 1938 World Cup in Paris, however, the disputes had died down. Professionalism had been accepted, largely as a result of whites of Italian descent leaving to play for clubs in Italy, and the two stars of the Brazil team were both black. Forward Leonidas da Silva and fullback Domingos de Guia. Against Poland, Leonidas caused a sensation, scoring a hat-trick in a 6-5 win. Domingos was uncompromising. Brazil lost their semi-final against Italy, largely because of the rather presumptuous decision to rest Leonidas for the final. Nevertheless, they had been the sensation of the tournament.
A imprensa francesa, que sempre foi a imprensa mais importante da Europa no tratamento do futebol, a imprensa francesa tratava Domingos e Leônidas como deuses, sobretudo Leônidas. E a correspondência vinha de lá para o Brasil, e o Brasil ficava orgulhoso. Então, o Brasil dizia, finalmente a Europa se curva diante do Brasil. E se curvava diante do Brasil, não porque nós tivéssemos a melhor diplomacia, não porque nós tivéssemos a melhor arte plástica, não porque nós tivéssemos a melhor música, mas porque nós tínhamos os melhores jogadores de futebol, que eram negros.
The heart of black Brazil can be found in Salvador, the capital of Bahia state. Capoeira is a mixture of music, martial arts, dance and spirituality that came with the slaves from Africa. The focus is on the body, and within this culture lies the key to understanding the